Good morning. You'll have to excuse my hot mess expressness. I just woke up, so brush my teeth and get my protein in this morning. I kind of want to just get on here and talk a little bit about my journey with ketamine and my healing component of my mental health and just my cognitive impairment, brain injury, and all of that. What led me to do ketamine in the first place. So when I was younger, when I was first born, I sustained abuse all the way till on and off, in and out of foster care, all the way until I was 9 years old. I was in my birth family exposed to a lot of abuse and was a victim of sexual, emotional, physical abuse. I have scars all over my body to kind of show the trauma that I went through a little bit. Not all of it is external, and that's why I started my journey honestly, since I could get into therapy, I've always had exploration to cure my mental health. I've struggled with PTSD, anxiety, a little bit of schizophrenic tendencies, just feeling paranoid, like everybody was against me, or my husband had different intentions with me. Honestly, so many lies were circling inside my head when I would interact with other individuals, whether it be at work, church, anywhere, and they resembled any of my abusers sexually, physically, mentally, any of that. I would trigger, and I would not be the same person that I was initially because of that trigger. And it's hard to explain to someone what dissociative identity disorder is, but it was a way that my body needed to survive what I went through as a child. Now, having my own children, I can see as they age just how pure, loving, innocent they are, and I can't even believe someone could be capable of sexually hurting someone who was an infant, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatnot. That was my life. And I had a lot of internal issues from this because my upbringing was not traditional, it was not normal, and I had to learn that. I didn't understand that my upbringing wasn't normal until I became adopted and I saw very healthy parents, and I saw heterosexual marriage. So man, women, my adopted mom and dad, they're still together now, still have a beautiful relationship, still going strong. Very thankful for that and that example. But I was a very troubled kid. So seeing the unhealthy parental style, so I'll kind of give you a little imagery of, a day in the life. I would sleep on the floor most nights. If we had room in a bed, it was all us kids in a bed. At that time, we had around 7 of us littles. I was the youngest out of the same dad, but I had younger siblings that came after me. And my birth dad at the time was very messed up, very corrupt. I would wake up and just remember, a typical kid maybe would have breakfast and watch cartoons, in a non-abusive family. And for me, it was not that way. I was lured into sexual abuse constantly to fulfill his needs. And I would starve most of the time. I remember when I would wake up, and until I was the age where I could go to school, I literally would wake up and steal dog food or take my sister's formula and just like scoop a little bit of that in my mouth because I did not have food like normal kids had in their house. I recall moments where I would, on my way to school, I would sneak into a 7-Eleven and steal the candy bars just so that I could have something to eat. Or my one of the neighbors on my way to the school bus had a crab apple tree, and I remember just eating the raw apples on the floor on the ground because I didn't want to get yelled at for climbing the tree or stealing the apples, but I knew the ones on the sidewalk that were rotting was okay to take. And I remember taking, bags of these thinking I was, getting a whole feast. So survival mode was a huge thing for me. I felt like I was constantly surviving, whether it was from hunger, starvation, heat, lack of, rather. I was born in Michigan, so the cold, frigid temperatures were brutal, especially when, our electricity was constantly turned off. I was a welfare child. My mom was getting governmental money. She did prostitution on the side, so she was not there a lot throughout the day, throughout the night. My mom would have a lot of men and women inside our house, and once I was a little bit older, probably about 4 years old, she started selling me and my sister, my eldest sister, for drug money. My younger siblings were not around during this time because they had been staying with their grandparents to my stepdad at the time in a trailer park, which I was thankful they were not exposed to as much abuse. And honestly, I don't think they sustained any sexual abuse, thank God. But that constant abuse daily and the increase of sexual abuse would happen more on the weekends. So in my life now, I noticed I would get depressed or sad on the weekends. And all of that turmoil I went through, that survival mode, the life I lived was not normal. And my body had to grieve through some of the rape that I went through, some of the pain that was afflicted on me, some of the emotional trauma that was on me. Flashback, or not, move forward a couple years when I was about 8 or 9, my sister started opening up, and I started opening up at the counselor's office at school. So they started noticing, we were very skinny for our age. My sister was missing and rotting teeth. I had bruises all over my body. And it didn't look good. And the poverty level of our clothes was probably noticing. And I just remember, honestly, my last moments in school, which were, I actually had lice, and I just remember my mom, instead of getting the treatment that the school system told her she needed to do to help me, she buzzed my hair completely bald. So I felt, that was a huge, identity painful moment for me in my childhood. But that was the last memory I have of school and going into school, because I had to stay out of school for a while I had lice. And I just remember when my sister kept going to school, she started saying some things that the guys were doing, the women were doing to us, and the counselor knew that what was said was not normal, was not okay. No kid should be performing things like that on a adult. So it led that counselor to reach out to Child Protective Services, and that's where DA Blodgett, a adoption agency, came with police officers and caseworker. They went right to my school and took us right out. It felt like a big old situation. I remember then being driven from school to my step grandparents' house, and basically we're told, grab all your things, we are leaving. So I remember just trying to comfort my brother Justin, my sister Allie, and Caitlin. They were all in the back seat with me, and my older brother and sister, I think they were in a different vehicle at the time. But I just remember my birth family and some of the abusers on the sidewalk just bawling. And I didn't know what was going on until we went to the D. Blodgett waiting area where the kids would wait, stay there, get, some clothes on, take a shower, have a bed, and then you would be placed for foster care. So I just remember that whole period and getting my first bear. Like, so I would get gifts in my foster parents' home, but I would have to keep them there. So, like, I would get presents when I was in foster care, but when I was back home, I didn't have, the normal toys that kids would play with. I was playing, honestly, with probably mice and maggots in our house, or dirt, or something to just ease my pain if I wasn't tied up, or if I wasn't in a corner on my tiptoes. I don't know, but that was a lot to process. So I just remember going through life out of that, and I struggled. I struggled through my schooling. I was very smart at the schoolwork, but I noticed interpersonally I lacked the ability to connect and the ability to trust people. So I would create walls, and I found it very hard to even have conversations with anybody. I was very shy, untrusting, and it just became a shell of me. The older I got, the more untrusting I got, the more like anxiety ridden I got, the more internal depressed. I was a very dark, depressed child, and I remember being safe, but not feeling, I don't know, I didn't feel like I had that one solid person that I could feel like I trusted completely. And I feel bad saying this because I had amazing adoptive parents, or I still do, but my connection abilities, I couldn't. I had such voids with moms and with dads. I didn't believe, and honestly, I feel bad saying this, because this was in my mind. I believe that every man and women, even the good ones, were capable of evil. And it was so strong in my head because of the normal people that would come and inflict abuse on me. Normal looking people, old, young, men, women, it didn't matter the age. I saw my adoptive parents as normal people, and I couldn't receive the love because I was afraid that they would hurt me. And I went through life dealing with this all throughout my relationships, distrusting of people, not believing that they have my best interests at heart. Even now to this day, I'm very selective about my friendships because I value my peace, and I value my just my circle now. But I had a hard time bonding with people. I drew into sports a lot because I was very active, very energetic. I have ADHD now that's being managed, but I didn't realize I had struggled with that a lot, and my attention to details and the ability to learn and concentrate was very hard. Like when I was doing driver's training in my adoptive parents, when I was older, I failed my first test because I just could not concentrate. I kept, parallel parking wrong, and yeah, had to repeat it. And there's nothing wrong with repeating things that, we fail at in life. We just fail forward. But I struggled. I struggled. And, you know, going into my relationship with Chris, I was going through some very dark things. I honestly did not want to be here. Like, I was like, why did my birth mom have me if she would cause that much devalue to me and my siblings? Because I see them now today and the struggles that they have caused because of the way that they did not raise us correctly, surrounded by love and safety and peace. They did not do that for us. There's struggles. There are things that all of us are having to work at. I believe I have like 12 siblings, maybe more, which is sad. That is very sad to me. Those are most likely 12 broken individuals who are going to have to go through some healing to get to their best self. And it's devastating. And I still to this day, I forgive my birth mom and I forgive my birth dad. He right now is homeless on the streets, used to be in the homeless camp on the railroad tracks in Grand Rapids, but since had to relocate 5 years ago. Not sure where he's residing, but still an alcoholic, still homeless, still lost. And then my birth mom she's still, same old, excuse my French, same old shit she was doing when we were younger. She has more children. She in and out of relationships like they are shoes. Just the exposure to the more abuse for those kids. If I physically saw anything or if they told me anything, I would definitely report her, because the amount of abuse that is affected on a kid affects them throughout their whole life. They are, oh Lord, the amount of healing I've had to do. But that is what brings me into my relationship with Chris. I I was going through a lot mentally, but I had gotten out of a relationship that was abusive. I was searching for love and it was in the wrong places. I took kindness on real quick and really quickly again learned that you can't trust everybody. And it felt like that abandonment, the wounds, the abuse wounds came back up with this relationship. And that's when I started disassociating, where I would actually split from reality and become someone else. And I called that back then my others, because I clearly was not May at 18 years old. I was more of like a May at 8 or 4. My brain capacity went to those areas because I triggered into them. And this was a cluster for my life. I had issues honestly everywhere I went. And then I battled with anger. I literally am a soft-spoken person, very friendly typically, but that anger for who I was had gotten so strong that it leaked into my life. I became bitter and angry, and I lashed out on my family and friends. And I remember a conversation I had with my husband. He said, "You need this. I can't live with this. This is not okay. It's emotionally abusive. You have to get healing for this." And I just remember crying out to God and thinking that I would lose everything. I'd lose my family. I'd lose my husband if I didn't fix myself. And I was lost because I didn't know how to. And that's when my counselor at the time had recommended, hey, it's controversial right now. Also, there's something that I think you could be a good candidate for. Might not be approved for it. But you're at that stage where I honestly wanted to take a pill to end it. That's the pain that I was in. And I was like, if I can't have my dream and what I've dreamed about my whole life and this beautiful life before me, if I couldn't have that and mentally could not get it together, it's like the point in living. So I was very depressed and suicidal during that time as well when I went through the anger. But the counselor then recommended, hey, I think you should do these infusions that, studies have shown can cure depression, is linked to help people with, cure from PTSD, disassociation, schizophrenia, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sign me up. She told me what it was, and I was like, I'm terrified. I've never done anything like that in my life. Isn't ketamine like a date rape drug? Like, what is going on? I was so skeptical about it. I didn't really understand the whole capacity of it, but I did my research. And it's used actually in hospital settings as an anesthetic, or, when you're going under for surgery. But it also, studies were showing that it was doing things to people's mental health after surgery. Most people who would get the ketamine alongside another analgesic or anesthetic bounce back quicker. They had more positive demeanors at post-surgery. They healed faster. So doctors started studying that and looked at the brain during the surgeries and while it was under the ketamine, and they realized there were neuroplasty and neurotransmitter healing and growth happening while these patients were getting the ketamine. So that's when counselors started using it, because it started helping. They did trials on patients, and even myself, I was part of, to see if it would help with mental health, depression, and all of that. I had gotten the stellate block surgery, and it basically is like a big old needle. They have to inject it into your your ganglia nerves, the back of your spine, that basically sends messages to your body when you're in pain, when you are anxious about something, when something's not right. But for me, it was going off inappropriately. Like, I could be talking to you right now and I would have a panic attack, or hard to breathe, or, I would have a trigger throughout in my real life where, someone would flirt with my husband, and it just sent me, I didn't become bad shit crazy or anything like that, but it just mentally, it made me feel like, what's going on? Why, what is it? Like inner turmoil. But the ketamine, or the surgery, shut off my pain responses all the way to my waist and up. And it also helps stop those fight or flight responses that happen when you get that boost of adrenaline. Well, when you get boosts of adrenaline all throughout your day for not the right reasons, it's not good for your body. And I just felt like I was so tired. I couldn't breathe. I felt exhausted all the time by what was going on in my brain, and I'm like, I need help. I need something. So I almost committed suicide, and that's when she said, you need to start these infusions. And I said, yeah, this is my last stage, step. I'll do it. So I remember my first infusion was honestly nuts. So basically what we would do is we would put headphones on and you would listen to music that has no words because you don't want to sway your subconscious into those words. So I would listen to a lot of hertz wavelengths for positive or healing trauma, gaining confidence, helping inner child, like just hertz that would go towards healing in some way. And I would make the playlist about 3 hours, and I would blindfold my eyes. I don't know where it is, but I've got my face mask that I would put over my eyes. And there I would take infusions. So they would hook me up. They would hook me up to EKG monitors, all that, to make sure I'm all good. And then the session would begin. And I literally had to just keep my eyes open, look around what was happening. And I'll explain more of those sessions in a different video. But the continued infusions, the continued therapy, you can start to notice a change in me. Where I felt like I couldn't do something, I started to learn. Reading became a lot easier. I now can game. My cognitive ability has increased. My inner drive has increased. There's a lot of things that have literally changed for me mental health wise, and I'm excited to keep on sharing a lot more about this journey. But my reason for doing ketamine was I felt like I was at the end of my rope, and I wanted to be the best mom I could be. I wanted to be the best wife I could be, and I wasn't living life to my fullest. So I cried out to God, and he directed me towards this, and I do believe there's a place for this in the healing. It's not for everybody, and I definitely hate taking it. Like, it tastes nasty. I'm doing sublinguals now because I've passed the infusion process, and now I have a sitter here that keeps an eye on me while I'm going through my sessions to make sure I'm safe. But I'm not a mover, so some people try to get up, but the anesthetic keeps them there. And when you have a sitter, make sure that you're okay throughout your session. But yeah, it's a little bit why I did it. If you want to learn more about ketamine, why I'm doing it for my mental health, more development, in interests and stuff like that, please subscribe, listen to my story, check me out. Hope y'all have a good day.